And also I'll start the AI companion. And I'll start the summary as well. And so we can get a laugh out of the summary. Okay, now I can go back to sharing the screen. I didn't realize that you lost your controls when you showed the screen.
Yep.
Okay, there we go. This is what VaraAC looks like. It looks complicated, and it is, but you can function with it with a minimum of worried about a lot of this stuff. What I don't want to do tonight is go through all the installation and everything else, all that process to get it up and running and all the settings, etc. I'll give you a little bit about that, but for the most part, it's just to show you what it is. See if I can pique some interest, and if we can pique some interest, then that's another story then to get people going. So
excuse me, Bob, but maybe you should turn off your video because your audio is starting to waver a
okay.
bit. Yeah.
I'll stop my video. There we go. Is that better? You won't be able to tell for a bit. Alrighty, so VaraAC consists of two programs. The first one is the VaraAC program itself, which you see on the left over here. You see the author, if you can see my mouse, okay. The author is 4Z1AC. And over on the right-hand side, you see two windows, which are the Vara windows. The Vara is a modem, which is designed by Spanish, I can't remember his call sign now. I don't have it right at hand. But anyway, so the VaraAC program uses the Vara modem to actually do the transmission reception of the data. It's very effective. Vara is by far the best modem for transmitting data these days, outside of the very expensive commercial Pactor.
And actually, Bob, it's if you go with the paid version of Vara,
yes.
It'll blow away Pactor as well.
Well, what I've read is it's about equal, but Pactor 4.
Right.
About equal to Pactor 4. And Pactor 4 costs in the order of $2,000. Now, unfortunately, it's not a cheap fee for Vara. I think I paid $96 is what it cost. It's $69 US. It says my internet connection is unstable. It's a normal circumstance. So anyway, it's worth it because it really makes a big difference. Alrighty, so that's what the program is, how it's assembled with these two parts. So the idea of Vara is it's a chat program with a lot of capability. It has mail capability and, well, all sorts of bits and pieces that we'll try and get into here. I just lost Don on the phone. Hopefully he'll get on here. Did you shut down, Yvonne?
Yeah, I give you an opportunity fighting chance.
Okay. Alrighty, so initially here, what you can see on the screen is a lot of controls, plus the two screens. One screen is a broadcast screen, and the other is your back and forth message screen. The lower one being the back and forth message screen. Above on the controls, you can see there's a frequency selection. There are a number of basic frequencies for VaraAC, and just click the bar there, and you can see 7105 is the 40 meter frequency, 14105 for 20 meters, and for 10133. So you can see a lot of these are the standard frequencies. Some of them are ones that I've added, like 707 1.5 is one I've added in there for playing. And I can't remember now whether I've added these two or not.
Hey, Bob, this is Don. I just want to check your
But anyway. Oh, good, you're there. Thanks, Don.
I'm here.
So let me introduce Don. Don, KM4UDX out of Virginia. he's an expert, way more expert in this than I am. Anyway,
Well, look, if we keep the bar low, we're all happy.
that's good. Anyway, yeah, Don's president of the Vienna Wireless Society, so which makes our club look absolutely insignificant. How many members, Don? 300?
Yeah, 330 and growing.
Yeah, right.
But look, like all clubs, most of us are slackers.
Right, yeah. Well, what are we? 30 at the most. That's on a really good year, 30. Anyway, okay, so I don't know whether my explanation will be anywhere near as good as yours, Don, but we'll just going through a few things before we start trying any sort of connections and so on. Are you operational now, Don?
No, not yet.
No
Sorry.
comment. Okay, all right, we'll carry on here.
Hey, Bob,
Yeah,
question. So we should be downloading the VaraChat, the VaraHF, and the Vara terminal. Am I correct?
no, just VaraHF for this. That's all.
Well, what,
The program is separate. VaraAC. You look for VaraAC. It's a separate program. It's not on that web page because it's a different author.
okay.
So look up VaraAC ham radio because there's something to do with car racing that's VaraAC as well.
First tech with Chrome, so it's really helpful.
Okay, so anyway, I'm on 7105, and in order for Vara to work properly, you do have to have the radio controlled by the program. And just to blow your minds, I'll show the rig control part of the settings. There we go. Just a minor thing, but basically frequency control and PTT control. So the radio can be controlled properly from the program. That's all that we really need to get into right here, right now.
That's
Okay, so that's a requirement to run this program properly, and you'll see why as we go along here. Alrighty, so now the green windows, the right, this one, the first one is labeled beacons. People send occasional beacons, and so you'll see these various stations here have sent beacons. And if somebody sends a beacon and you receive it, you can probably connect to them. For example, I can probably connect to this KK4 PCR who just showed up. It shows he's on 500 hertz bandwidth, and it shows his SNR is -01, which is pretty fair. You know, that's a pretty good signal to noise, so he would be a good connection. This guy, DL0NOT, -21 SNR, that's pretty marginal. I have a hard time getting him. So anyway, if you double click on any of these stations, it will then try to connect to them. Over here, we have the stations that have called CQ. And what you see on this column is they give the bandwidth again, the SNR again, but now you'll see this slot number. Well, this is where frequency control comes in. If everybody tried to operate on this frequency 7105, you'd get nowhere fast because everybody would be all on the same frequency. So this system works that 7105 is the calling frequency, but when you make a connection, you then go off to another frequency. And VaraAC has specific frequencies, all 750 hertz, 750 hertz above 7105, etc., and 1.5 megahertz above 7105, etc. And so what this is, these slots are these different frequencies. So slot 2 is a lower frequency down below 7105. Slot 11 is above, and they put the slot number in the CQ. So that tells you what frequency they are going to be listening on. And if I get this right here, you see this over here on the upper left, you see slot and this little progress bar here. Well, I can move this, down, and you see now that's slot 1. is 7104.25, and so on. I can continue on down, if I can get it to drag, with the slots to different frequencies. So going down to slot 5 down there and up here to slot 15 is 7108.75. And so normally you go to the calling frequency, 7105, to make any connections. And then when you're connected, if you make it just a connection, you then move to a slot. So Don, are you set up to make a connection at this point?
No. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm still working to tunnel through to get to my box. Unfortunately, we had a little snafu of plans. But to Bob's point, if I could just make a few comments, Bob.
Go make comments whenever you like there, Don.
Yeah. So VaraAC is unique from a couple of perspectives. One is it is currently the state of the art in chat to chat, keyboard to keyboard. It does that through a couple of techniques. One is it's like all of us stands on the shoulders of giants. The underlying modem is VaraHF, so that's a modem written by a separate guy, and it's the same modem that powers the back end of WinLink. So it's very, very capable. And what he's done is put the front end around that modem and done some secret sauce. So VaraAC is the application, and VaraHF is the modem. They are separate, and they obviously work together. The other unique thing about VaraAC is it uses this notion of, as Bob mentioned, channels and calling frequency. So you work on the calling frequency, but the goal there is to generate a CQ, make a connection, then go to one of the slots. The slots are all separated by 750 hertz, but the band pass is 500. So every 750, you've got another slot. You only take 500 of it, and the difference between 750 and 500 is the buffer. And so there's this notion of you're not tuning, you're simply picking a slot. And Bob, if I get you to do one thing, on the far right, if you'll click on that little hash sound, hash pound mark to the right of the up and down arrow, nothing illustrates the slot concept of VaraAC better than this one screen that Bob's going to show you.
Yeah, it's
Oops,
not
I think I
coming
just
up, though,
lost.
when I click on
Yeah,
that,
there we
because
go.
I'm not connected. I'm not connected.
If
I'm
Bob,
not connected.
okay, if that worked, then what you'd see, you don't have to be connected to anyone. So maybe you do.
Yeah, I think you have to be connected for that to do anything.
All right. You can probably connect to me.
Okay, I'll give it a try. So, all right. So up here, you see with my cursor, you see I've got Don's call up here in this little window. And so I can just hit connect here, and it's making a call. There we go. Sounds like
Now
we're
this
making
is going to trigger a multitude of tries to connect to me.
Yeah.
By software design, I think it's 10 or 15 shots. Now,
Okay.
because I'm away, I have set up my machine to
There's
say, hey, I want to talk to you, but let's agree that we're going to get off the calling frequency. So Bob's going to say, send that QSY invitation, which is a little bit down below.
yeah, and there it is.
Oh yeah, so
And there,
here's this
well, what
notion
it
of
says now.
slots to the left, slots to the right, they all take 500. Here's the other thing. You can go to any frequency you want, subject to privileges and band conditions and courtesy and all that. You can do that by entering that frequency here. So although VaraAC is a strong culture of calling frequencies and slots, you can in fact go any place you want. And that one screen is the best to do it. So let's see, how are we doing connecting?
Okay, so we're connected, and I've told it to go to slot 13.
Right. So I've set my machine up so that if someone connects to me, I will automatically generate a QSY. We've
Yeah.
done that.
Okay,
And Bob's,
now if you look up here, if you look up here now, you'll see the frequency has changed. See, we're at
Yes.
7107.25 now because Don's machine agreed to do the QSO or the QSY.
right?
Yeah.
And now
So-
we're going to leave a message.
So I'll leave down a message here.
The other really fascinating concept of VaraAC is this notion of vmail. And what it allows you to do is asynchronously leave messages for each other. It's a little bit as if JS8 and WinLink had a baby. It would be called VaraAC. So you don't have quite the message handling capability that JS8 does, but you're very close to it.
Oh, wow.
So Bob's going to leave me a message. And this is going to it's going to go right into my inbox.
Okay. Let's see. There's
And he's gonna hit
some
send.
weird stuff going on the band.
So on the lower right-hand screen, you see that quad map. I'm not a mathematician, but folks that understand all this stuff will tell you that the number of panels, you can get up to 16, tells you how many, I think, simultaneous data streams VaraAC is using. So the other marvelous capability of the software is it dynamically adapts and it'll change the underlying modem, the underlying connection topology based on conditions. A very nice trick. So we've got that
Okay,
message,
email delivered successfully.
right? And on my end, now that sits on my inbox waiting for me to check it out. I'm going to ask Bob to do something else because we're connected. I want Bob to write a vmail to someone who is not me.
Yeah, okay.
So Bob, click on send vmail.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of who to send it to.
Oh, anybody,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Pick Yvonne's call
Well,
sign.
what I'll do, I'll send it to Claude. How about that?
Sure.
Um,
So Bob is hooked up to me, but is going to send an email to a fellow Canadian who is not on VaraAC now. That's a heck of a trick. So it's going to sit in my outbox waiting for VE2CST to show up. Now, how in the world would VE2CST know that there's email in my box for him? Because if my machine hears him, and this is really beautiful, if my machine hears him, maybe because he beacons or maybe because he calls CQ, I am going to send him a message autonomously without my action that says, yo, Claude, I, Don, have some email for you. Come pick it up. And I will periodically send that Don has email for you message to him. I don't have to do anything to send that message. Claude doesn't have to do anything to receive that message.
yeah, so right
But-
now there's a little window up here in the middle of the screen. Says you are sending a email to VE2CST, but you are currently connected to KM4UDX. Oh, now I lost that. So I don't know whether it's actually it's not going to send it, it looks like, because I didn't act in time. I think that's probably what happened. It gave up. Anyway, because I was waiting to show that screen. But anyway, I can just do it again. Whoops.
And most of us don't have a ton of time to play radio. So this is just a lovely capability to start a whole culture based on asynchronous communications. And it's wonderfully powerful.
Well, it is sending something. Oh, maybe that's just the regular connection, just stop keeping the connection. So I'll send it. This time I'll actually send it because so it doesn't. So it says click yes to relay now. So yes, now send it to Don's mailbox, ready for Claude to pick up.
And there's a whole, all these radio modes get their fans and there's cultures. And there's a whole group of folks that are quite thrilled with this asynchronous communications ability and will simply just leave email for each other. It's a lovely way to use your radio and not have to be, I'm only on for an hour at lunch or an hour after dinner or what have you.
Okay, so it's delivered successfully, it says, and now we're just back to the handshaking again.
Yeah, VaraAC does a fair amount of work to make sure that the communication is stable. Now let's do another trick. So we've touched very briefly on Vmail and the notion of parking. So the Vmail that Bob wrote to Claude is now parked with me. I'm going to be listening for Claude. If he shows up, I'll let him know. And that happens autonomously without me doing anything. Here's another great trick of VaraAC. Bob, will you click on Send File?
Yeah, okay, here we go. And you just need to find a small text file. That's not necessarily simple.
Well, I may have, if you find one that I sent you,
Yeah,
my
well,
joke, my little joke file.
yeah, if I can remember where that would be.
So so while Bob's looking, the great thing about send file capability of VaraAC is that with complete certainty
No, I don't think so.
that the file that you're reading is exactly the file that was sent to you.
Just in a way. Let's just look in here, see what's in here. Okay, I think I can. Well, that's Don's macro.
And Don, you say it's exactly the same. Are you implying there's error detection and correction involved in?
Yes.
Oodles of noodles. Yep. If you get the file, if it completes successfully, you'll know with 100% certainty that it's character for character correct.
Nice.
Now, I don't know how big this file is, Don, because I didn't actually check. But this is a macro file of yours for FL Digi from a long time ago. Oh, there. I think it's 250.
So we can tell. So let's look at the upper right-hand screen. If we look at the bottom of that, you'll see a little number that says 270 BPS. It's bouncing around a little bit.
Yeah. 418.
Well, that's the total. The one to the left of that is actually your speed.
What we're actually doing, yes.
Yeah, we're at 441 now. So we've got a pretty good connection. Bob and I just seem to have, fiber optic between our houses. And so, 200 bits per second is no great shakes, but over the air, it's not bad. And you still won't send a big file. You certainly will not do a graphic. No, but anything under 5K goes pretty snappy. If you wanted to send a larger file, you can do that. But two things will be.
It has sent the file.
Yay. So on my end, it'll say, dude, you just received a file. It'll pop up with a path. And I simply get to click on the path. I don't have to worry about where it'll pop up with the appropriate viewer.
Yeah.
So the file send capability is an extraordinarily powerful feature of VaraAC that you're not going to get with any of the lovely modes in, say, FL Digi, for example.
Might comment here, by the way, if you look towards the upper right of the VaraAC screen, the three little boxes, last, average, and mine, showing the SNR. So Don is seeing my SNR at +7, and my last one from Don, I guess, was -03, running about 60 watts or so. So What are you doing, Don? You got your 5 watts or 10 watts there?
I think I'm burning the air at 15.
Ooh, okay.
Let's do
Smoking the
something else.
ionosphere.
So go down to, right, with 15 watts. So go down to middle of the far right-hand side, under send file, and you'll see that LH.P. That stands for
Yeah.
last heard peak. And Bob's going to click on that. And what that's going
Yeah,
to do is it's
done.
going to make my rig go into auto transmit and send to Bob the contents of my beacon list and my CQ list.
And there it is. Yeah. So we can see at Don's place what he's seeing.
Right. And I do this all the time to compare. The difference that you see between Bob's list and my list is due to two things: different geography, I suppose 3 things, different propagations to that geography, obviously, and then his antenna. All our receivers are about the same. They're great. So differences are due to antennas and locations. And if he sees someone that I don't, then I know I can use Bob as a relay. Here's the other trick. People talk about, oh, Don, there's just nobody to talk to. Nobody calls CQ anymore. I think VaraAC has the capability to sort of put the end to CQs. Well, why is that? Because if you see someone in your beacon window, under beacons,
Mhm.
any one of those people hears you. So without any fear, you can click on them, right mouse, and say connect. Now, wait a
Mhm.
minute, you're thinking, Don, they didn't call CQ. I know that. But the culture is if you hear somebody, if somebody hears you, try to connect to them. Don't wait for a CQ. Any beacon is a potential CQ. You just double click on it. It'll throw it in the connect window and establish a connection. Sometimes you'll get it in a way. That's fine. You'll get in a way, you'll QSY, you can write an email to them. I've done that to a bunch of people I've never met. I said, hey, thanks for leaving your box up. I may read their URZ page, say something to them about what I read about them. Say, hey, thanks for the remote mail connection. And you just leave it in their inbox. A lot of times folks will get back to you and you'll have a lovely relationship, all done by asynchronous
Hmm.
email.
Just one. Mhm.
Nobody called to CQ.
Yvonne was just asking a question here about how many connections can you have at once? But it is a single, it's a single connection system, except for
Yeah.
the broadcast.
Right, that's a multi-read, but still one send.
So,
Hold on.
yeah.
Where's your hydro frequency?
No, it's just the way the system works. It's back and forth, talking to each other. And so you're talking to each other. Nobody else
I'm
can.
back.
Okay.
Here's
So,
another cute little feature. Bob, I want you to click on that info screen, catty corner to LHP.
let's see.
What that is going to do is Bob is going to force my rig into transmit and is going to send him my little log details to fill in that little log record on the bottom of Bob's screen.
Yeah.
Now, because we talked before, it's there, but typically the name, the QTH won't be there until you trigger the person you're talking to send you that information. And then this stuff integrates with N3FJP and all the other logs. So you can either use this log or use any other log you integrate with. But that info is nice.
And I haven't really talked about this lower portion where you see, first of all, the log information is down there. But also you type your message that you're sending in the bottom box.
Bob,
then,
go ahead and type something to me.
yeah, okay, I'll type
So that's where you type your
okay.
message. After
Okay.
Bob,
Now
then
I hit carriage return.
right.
Okay, and now it
Right.
goes into the this box. is
That's the
Q.
Q.
Yeah.
And then as soon as VAR-AC detects
Uh-huh.
it's clear to send, it'll send.
Yeah.
You don't control the send timing. It senses the channel, make sure it's open, then it hits the send. It's very respectful and aware that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. I don't know whether people have noticed, there's a busy, flag, up in the upper left-hand corner that, flashes on red when the channel is busy. And it won't transmit under those circumstances. So,
Bob, click on history, which is to the right of my call sign, middle of the screen in blue.
I haven't done that one before. History to the right of your call sign in blue. Oh, up top? No.
Mhm.
Down there, I think.
Well,
Oh,
middle of the
there.
screen.
Yes, there in that one. Yes. Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
we go. Yep. There.
VAR-AC this is another unique capability of VAR-AC. It records all of your previous interactions. You know, I can't remember what I had for breakfast, so it's really nice to have a record. If I talk to somebody, I always click on this and say, oh my gosh, what did we talk about? So I don't repeat the same boring questions, the same boring conversation I had before. I can try to bore them some other way. So that is very, very nice. And the flip side is, if I've never talked to them before, I go
Yeah.
here and it's empty.
Yeah. And
It is a
it's,
lovely feature.
there's just so much in this program to play
Mhm.
with. And
Mhm.
you can see all this stuff in Don's history. Goes on and on and on. Yeah.
Right. So go ahead and close that window out. So that was history. VAR-AC has done a very good job of integrating with PSK Reporter and QRZ. So if Bob just clicks on QRZ, which is right above history,
Oh, sorry, I just clicked on the map. So,
that's fine.
okay.
That's fine. PSK is good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So there it takes its time, but there it brings up the
Right.
there we go.
It
There's
puts in
PSK
Bob's call
reporter.
sign, and the default is
Mhm.
VAR-AC for the mode, last 6 hours. I always, slam this to last 15 minutes. So here's another important point. Bob, click that and make it for 15 minutes, please, instead of 6 hours. So this is under the heading of no one calls CQ. And the answer is no one has to
must
call
be up
CQ
here.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the right a little bit. So we talked about using the beacon list to find people to chat with. You can also use the PSK reporter list to find folks to chat with. If they don't send a beacon, if they don't send a CQ, but you see them here on PSK reporter hearing you, my God, try to connect to their call sign.
Yeah. Yeah. And these the balloons are coded by band.
Okay.
So blue balloons are 40 meters. So these are people that we could possibly connect to.
Right.
There's, matter of fact, look at that one right there. You see in the lower left of the map?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You can see that?
There you have it. Right.
There you have
truly.
it.
So
Yeah.
if you want to see how propagation changes, if Bob had left his machine on VAR-AC in beacon mode for 24 hours,
Yeah, you see.
then you go up to last where he put in 15 minutes and you cycle through that.
Mm.
And I'll continue to go back in time, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour turn. All of a sudden you see the world balloon when the band becomes alive. And then you'll see
Yeah.
those contacts collapse 6 hours later. And for somebody who doesn't really understand HF propagation, and that means me, being able to do this brings to light this notion of when bands are active and when they're not.
Mm.
And it's not generic propagation, it's for my QTH.
Yeah.
So it's very particular, and that makes it very useful. All right, let's pop back to the application.
Yeah, it is.
So you can
Okay.
close that out.
Yeah, we haven't talked about about, I'll just iconize that. We haven't talked about the broadcast aspect, and you can see an interesting thing here is that this fellow VA3ZTF is not using the standard CQ method.
No, I've
He's
never
getting
seen this
broadcast.
before. I've
Yeah.
never seen it before. This is really funky, funky junky.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh,
Oops, let's see.
but
All right, Bob, what do
a
you,
broadcast, if I was to make a broadcast, so I'll do that. I can't do that now because we're connected. Yeah.
right, you can't do that now. But so what's interesting is Bob has had a fairly rich interaction with me, and I was not at my machine. How can that be? Because on the upper right-hand side, I have, oops, I've enabled the options that allow for interaction. I've allowed Bob to change the frequency I'm on. I've allowed Bob to send me into transmit. I've allowed Bob to send files to me. So we have very rich interaction, even though I'm not at the rig. It is wickedly, wickedly powerful business. Before we disconnect, what else? Okay, before we disconnect, on the very top, underneath frequency schedule off, I want Bob to go to the right where it says fs.p below PSK reporter map. A little bit to the right. There you go. fs.p.
FSP,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
right. Yeah, Yvonne was
That's
just trying to show me something here.
Bob is going to again make me auto transmit to him the schedule that I have for when I change frequencies. And I change bands to 14 meters in the day, 20 meters in the day, and 40 meters at night.
It's not today though.
Except I've turned it off,
They've turned it off, yeah.
which is
Yeah,
interesting. Should be on. Anyway, so you can automatically cycle through any band you want at any time you want. And it's terrific if you're interested in, say, propagation conditions, or you want to survey the heavens in VaraAC speak. That's how you would do that.
yeah.
And Bob, to turn that on, you would click on frequency schedule where it says off. You'd
Yeah.
click on it, and you
Um,
simply enter time and band, time and band, time and band, turn it on, and then you're good to go.
yeah, I don't have to have it configured, so.
No,
But if I open that frequency scheduler, there you can see the window about the time and frequency
yes,
that I would set. If I had it.
underneath that frequency scheduler windows, you see 500 hertz and 2300 hertz.
Yeah. And
The
I'm set-
default bandwidth is 500. If you're in a place where you want to go wider, 2300, you can. And the way you do that is by disconnect, select 2300, make sure you're on the same frequency as your intended target, put his call sign in, and connect.
Normally, you wouldn't do it on one of these slots. You do it
No,
somewhere else.
you go someplace else.
Yeah, which
For
is
God's
why,
sakes, go someplace else.
yeah, which is why you see, we put in, when we were playing with this, we put in this frequency, 707 1.5, which is not in the range of the VaraAC frequencies. So we put that in, and that's where we played with the wide bandwidth. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah,
Right.
when you run 2300 hertz, things move along at a pretty snappy rate.
Right. And there are two flavors of
And
the
now
modem.
that
There's
the allowing
there's a shareware version of the modem, and then there's the paid version. The shareware comes with an occasional nag that says, "Hey, are you sure you want to continue to evaluate it?" It's just nagware. Just say yes, ignore it. You do not need to pay for the license upgrade to have a wonderful VaraAC experience. But I paid for it because I think it's important to tip the developer for doing such wonderful work. Do you need to do it? No. Is it a nice thing to do? Yeah, says me. You get a little speed bump. Under good conditions, you will get faster speeds with the paid version.
Mhm.
Under poor conditions, I haven't seen it make any difference.
If you're using WinLink, then it makes sense to WinLink.
Okay.
Yeah, having a paid version. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because in WinLink,
Right.
you can actually get up to very high speeds sometimes. Yeah, so basically we haven't, because we're connected, we haven't really demonstrated a couple of things here, but this, as I mentioned, this business of this VA3ZTF calling CQ, and what he's doing here is this is the SNR I'm receiving him with, and he's put this number 1 down here as he's saying that this is the slot he wants you to go and look for him on. But he's doing it as a broadcast rather than using the built-in CQ system that VaraAC has.
Right.
Uh,
If
actually,
anybody has any questions, let's go ahead. If there aren't any questions, let's go ahead and disconnect.
okay, before we do, I'm just going to show the SNR graph.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So that's showing the signal that I've been receiving and sending to Dawn, and which can be kind of interesting to see.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
I've done this. I've used that and then turned the power down until I saw a reduction. And frequently if
Yes.
conditions are good, you need like 1 or 2 watts.
Yeah, Don and I have not a VaraAC, but on FL Digi we have operated less than a watt with our path, as Don says, our fiber optic path that we have at times.
Also on the top third right-hand side, there's a checkbox that says send is typing.
Yeah.
If you check that, your party recipient will get a little pop-up that says, oh, the guy you're talking with is typing. If they're very slow typist, and if you're not sure you still have a connection, that will reassure them to just wait. You'll get to the send button eventually. That's what send is typing is useful for.
Yeah.
I leave it off because I'm a pretty fast typer. Mute all sounds. If you uncheck that, it will read to you. Very nice text to voice. I let it talk to me when I'm walking around the upstairs. It annoys my wife, but if I hear somebody call CQ or somebody's connected to me, I'll occasionally pop in and participate. The next one, I'm away. This allows for that behavior where you can connect to me and we can do stuff and I'm not there. And then the last one, verbose SNR, if I check that, that would allow automatically, if someone wanted to do that graph, I would participate.
Yeah. Now, we were disconnected automatically because of our sitting here not doing anything. So we're disconnected at this point, and I think we're both now back to the calling frequency.
Right. You'll notice that
Automatic.
7.105 in the upper left-hand side. We're both on the calling frequency. Bob
And as soon
mentioned
as
the
your station went back to the calling frequency, it says, okay, it's time to beacon now. And so
Right.
it beaconed. And there's your beacon there.
right.
Appeared right at that time.
Oh, isn't that nice? Yep. Terrific.
Yep.
All right. So let's go ahead and why don't you send a broadcast?
Okay, so to send a broadcast, click over here on broadcast, and to all means it's going to appear in everybody's broadcast message screen that can see this. Okay, so this is going to, oh, whoops. Oh, I hit the caps lock. Okay. Well, maybe I'll do that over. That doesn't look very good, so I'll do it over again here.
No, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Just hit
okay,
broadcast.
I'll send it.
Just hit
And
broadcast.
now I'll hit the caps lock. So next time.
So the difference between a broadcast and a connection is this. The broadcast goes out on a very slow but reasonably robust modem type. And it does that because you don't have an assured communications Unlike in the action where you know certainty, every character is going to get there exactly right. With the broadcast, you're just sending it out. People may get it, may not. There's no assured reception or confirmation of it. That's the difference between broadcast and a connection. You're sending to here, but you're not connected. This allows for a very poor approximation of a net. You can go to a channel or a frequency. You simply take turns broadcasting. And that's a way to get around this fact that you can have 5 people listening, all on the same frequency, and you're communicating in a manner. So it's not the same as having a connection, but you are sharing with the group.
Yeah. And actually there is, I've seen notes and I've never actually seen anything happen, but on a Sunday morning on 20 meters, there's sort of a net that supposedly takes place using broadcast. So people just send their text on broadcast, that way everybody can see it. So it's not a matter of having to connect somebody to send a message. Everybody sees it. Now, Don, notice the previous broadcast up there, KK4PTR. Is that Bruce? Is it Bruce? I don't remember. That's a familiar sounding call sign, but
Yeah, right.
yeah,
So,
anyway.
Bob, I'm going to check out, but I want you to do one thing before I do. Go ahead and hit call CQ.
Yeah,
This is the
okay.
last thing I want to show you guys. So when you call CQ, it goes out very slowly to everyone, but encapsulated with that CQ is the result of this dialogue right here. Bob
Yeah.
has to say on
Oh.
what channel is he going to go to
And I
for a
just said,
subsequent CQ.
and I just said 14.
Now there's something called a
Okay,
slot
and now
sniffer. Click and
yeah,
hold, and it'll flip your modem to that. You can see if it's open or not. Whatever. I usually
yeah,
just wing it and
and
go.
yeah, because there you can see as long as I hold the button down, it changes my frequency, my radio to 7108, and I can
Right.
see it's not too bad there.
Not
So
too
I'll,
bad.
I'll say, okay, we can go there. So I'll call CQ, and so now it's sending the CQ.
Good. Anyone that can hear Bob is going to see his call sign in the upper right-hand side under CQ calls.
Yeah,
If they want to contact Bob, they're simply going to double click on his call sign in the CQ window. They will be on the right channel that
Yeah.
Bob encoded in his CQ request. They'll be in 13 or whatever it was you picked.
yeah, and you see up here on the up here it says waiting on slot for reply. And in 286 seconds, it'll go back to the calling frequency.
Right. That's configurable. I recommend you set
So
it to
far, no
60
one has
seconds.
responded.
Right.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's a long time to
Af-
wait. Yeah, he
That's a long
hasn't
time to
called
wait.
by 60.
After that wait, you will automatically push back to 7105.
Yeah. Now, if I click on this, it'll go back to 7105 anyway, which
Yep.
I'll do.
All right, folks,
And
I'm going to push out. Are there any other questions I can answer?
yeah, well, you've got the expert here. Take advantage of it.
What's the recommended power setting?
Oh, whatever you need to make the connection,
That's
but
it.
15, 20 watts does it nicely, depending on your antenna and the conditions and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
perfect.
Vera is a high duty cycle mode. Whenever you're transmitting at a very high duty cycle. So now normally it doesn't transmit continuously for very long, but still you don't want to don't want to have your rig set too high. You know, like
Right.
50 watts on a 100-watt rig is probably as high as you want to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me
Yeah.
make this offer to all of you. I will have my rig up on 20 meters during the day and 40 meters at night. The call sign's KM4UDX. You can do exactly what Bob did. You can connect to my machine. I've got really good propagation to Canada. Connect to it, leave me the email, send me a file, click info, get my info for your log record, click lh.p. You can see who I'm hearing. Click, you can nice
what
little
we're looking.
pop-up chart. Yep, so you can have a very nice interaction with me, even if I'm not there. And here's something I challenge you all to do. When you're hooked up to Cam before you DX me, write a V-email to Bob. So you're hooked up to me. You're gonna click on send V-email. You're gonna address it to Bob's call sign. And then you're gonna send it to him through me. And it'll sit in my outbox, waiting for me to hear Bob over the next ensuing days.
Yeah. We often get together on a Monday night, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, this Monday
On
night
the
is gonna
weird and
be
wacky digital mode.
pre-DV. Yeah. All right, folks, I'm sorry I'm gonna patch out now, but thank you so
Oh,
much for the opportunity to share VaraAC. I think it is just a lovely, wickedly capable mode. If you're not a
oh,
big
thanks.
talker, if you like to type and send files and have asynchronous communications, VaraAC wrote the book on those.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Don. It's been great having you here. You did 1,000% better than I would do.
No, you all did great. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share. I look forward to our next interaction. And as I say, use my machine. It's going to be up. You'll be able to get to it. Practice, 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 and you'll have a lot of fun.
Yep,
And if I'm
thank you, Don.
around when you're connected to it, I'm going to jump right in and we can practice together.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Don.
great. Thanks, Don.
All righty, everybody.
And
Thank you so much.
Yvonne just
Right.
said
Good
it
night,
doesn't.
everybody.
Good
Thanks,
night,
Bob.
Don.
Don.
Yvonne just said it doesn't have autocorrect on the typing. When you're typing, you got to type it accurately, as I demonstrated.
Okay,
One
Bob,
other thing I'll demonstrate here again. Just yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
I
Yeah,
still,
Mike, go ahead.
yeah, I'm still confused, Bob. So VARAC is the program, but you also have to download VaraHF, which is the modem.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, I've done both.
yeah, good. Okay. Now, one thing I'll mention here, because most people are not really very well set up for rig control, but so I'll just show a little bit about it. To control your rig, as long as your rig is modern enough to have a serial port or a USB, you can set up the rig in various ways. I'm using the program called FL Rig. That is by far the best way of controlling your rig. And so if it's possible for you to set up FL Rig, that is what I highly recommend. I'll get back to FL Rig very shortly here. You have to have frequency control and you have to have PTT configuration. So you've got to allow the PTT to operate too. So in my case, since I'm using FL Rig, I select that in here as well. And these numbers down here, localhost and port 12345 are standard for FL Rig. If you just set up FL Rig by its defaults, that will work. Okay, and so then there's some Vmail information down here, and otherwise, I think the rest of it, you kind of go through, just setting things up as you please. One of the things you'll notice is I've got two Vara windows set up. And up here, you'll see, first of all, the Vara modem type is VaraHF, and these numbers are all default numbers. And here's the path. The path, normally when you install Vara, you put it in at the root directory, at the root subdirectory, so that it puts it as Vara in the Vara subdirectory. And there's the program name is vara.exe. But you can create a second Vara path, as I've done here. You see a path Vara monitor. And just copy the Vara exe, all the contents of the Vara.exe, or sorry, the Vara subdirectory into the Vara monitor subdirectory. And now you can tell it to run this Vara monitor. same program, just running it from a different directory. And then you get the second Vera window. And this window is set in monitor mode. So you notice in the at the top of the Vera screen, there's a monitor thing, and it's off here, but if I turn it on, it goes into the monitor screen, and turn it back off. So this screen here shows the progress of data transmission. The monitor screen down below allows you to look and see what's going on the band. Not everything gets translated. Various things do, and sometimes it can be interesting to see what's actually happening on the band. So otherwise, you know, the two screens are the same. They're just operating in different modes. But if you are in monitor mode on the main screen, it won't transmit or receive. You have to be, yeah. And then Yvonne's pointing at the screen to the right, the blank blue screen, and Don commented on that, and it shows the nature of the transmission you're receiving as far as the number of carriers it's using and the spread of the data bits and how close they are. If you just have four carriers, this will be an X in here. And my internet's unstable again. If you have more carriers, you'll see the screen divide up into more segments.
Oh, that's what that was.
And so you can go up as high as maybe 16 carriers, but you'll never see that on HF. And if it's 16 carriers, this will be divided up into a grid of 16 with little splodges in each screen, in each box. Okay, so that's the Vera modem parts.
So that's configuring the modem using that window.
This window here is well, configuring the radio on this side, on the left-hand side, and it configures how you're connecting up to the modem on the right-hand side.
So
There's a lot of other stuff here too, but you don't need to worry about any of that.
So you don't have to configure VaraHF at all. You just install it.
Yeah, just install VaraHF.
And that's
Well,
it.
it does have some settings, but like Vera setup here, you have to put in your call sign and your registration key if you have a registration key. If you don't put anything in there, and then it's good to check. Allow Vera to check for updates and accept 500 hertz connections, and then the KISS interface. So that's basically all you need to do in the Vera modem. When you are operating, you can bring up the sound card screen here, and tune command. This allows you to tune your radio, set the power level, and so on. Make sure it's set up right on the radio. And of course, another thing you do have to set up is the devices the audio devices that you're using. Okay. A lot of this stuff, you know, if somebody wants to really get into it, then we can have a session where I can go through a lot of this stuff with people. So the other thing then I was going to show is FLRig, which I am using. So there is FLRig on the upper right. Maybe it's a bit confusing. Let me move it down into here so it's a little less confusing. So FLRig gives you the frequency, it gives you your S meter and filters, all sorts. This is controlling the radio. And so it's a really good program for doing that. And it's to get FLRig, you go to W1HKJ. Put that if I can, I could put that in the chat.
There's more than one way to configure. There are other program options besides FLRig.
Oh yes, there are other ways of doing rig control, but FLRig is good. And FLRig is at w1hkj.com, as well as FLDigi as well. FL Digi and FL Rig work together, but FL Rig is what you need for this. FL Rig is useful for all the digital modes except WinLink. So you can run Whisper and FT8 and all those digital modes. All will use FL Rig. So it's very convenient to have it operational.
So those are the only three things you need to
Yeah,
run
the
AC,
VaraAC,
HF,
VaraHF, and
and
FL
FL
Rig.
rig, and
Yeah.
that's all you need to
Yeah.
set this up and run. Okay.
Yeah, and let me go back here and I gotta find this now. Let's just get rid of all that and put it in here. Let's see if it can. Whoop, that didn't work, did it? Let's see what I get. No, that didn't come out right at all. Oh, there we go. Okay, but it still didn't come out right. Alrighty, let's go back here to.
You trying to sell some HV?
Very. Okay, so it's www.varac-hamradio.com. So what I can do is copy that and go back into chat and put it in there. Control V, return. Okay, and if you're not familiar with saving the chat, so you can keep all this stuff, if you click on chat and bring up the window, the chat window, on the upper right is three dots. You click on the three dots, and one of the options, well, maybe the only option, no, it's more than that. The top option is save chat, and it will save it as a text file. So you can then recover anything that has gone on in the chat.
How much is
Okay.
the commercial license, Bob?
For Vara,
Yes.
it was $69 US when I did it. I think it's still the same.
Okay, thank you.
That came to $96 Canadian when I did it. Yeah. So,
Pocket change, eh, Bob?
HF is,
sorry?
Pocket change.
Pocket change, yeah. Yeah, there's no charge for VaraAC. It's a freebie.
it's HF that you pay.
It's just VaraHF. And Vara, if you get a license for Vara, well, it's just a license for Vara. So that's a good, that license will work for VaraHF, Vara FM, and Vara Chat. So it covers everything. Okay, anything further before, well, I've still got the recording going on. Anything further before I stop the recording?
Yeah, one dumb question. What kind of computer are you on right now?
Oh, it's a secondhand computer from Trailing Edge in Ottawa. It's a desktop.
Yeah,
I think it's an i5.
an i5. Okay, just curious because I noticed at times in the Vera HF window that your CPU went up to over 60%.
Yes, it could do. Yeah, yeah, because it got Zoom going as well. So you know, so I got the two modems plus the Zoom and VaraAC plus FL Rig as well. So there's a fair bit going on there at the moment.
Okay, no,
But
just
it's
curious.
handling it all.
Bob, is Vera HF capable of running on Linux, or is it Windows only?
No, it's Windows only. You have to run it under Wine, and I think people have been playing with it, and that's something I'm not sure about now. Whether somebody has actually succeeded in doing it. It's not trivial to get Vera to run on Linux. If it's possible, that I'm not even sure that it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
So that is an issue. I don't know about VaraAC. I'm not sure, but then there's no point in VaraAC being Windows or a Linux program if Vera isn't.
Well, most programs being written today are platform independent. They'll run on anything.
Yeah, that's the way it should be. I don't know why Vera isn't written that way. I also don't know why WinLink isn't written that way, but anyway, that's the way it is. Okay, I'll stop the recording. So we don't have, if I can find it. Yeah. More. There it is. Stop recording.